It's absolutely amazing today. So welcome to another RiderCamTV video on a sunny day in Cornwall, down in Falmouth. And today we're bringing you a quick review on the BMW G310. What an awesome little bike. With only 34 brake horsepower and a weight of about 313 kilos and a torque of about 25 Newton meters. I'll put all the description up in the video for you all to see. What an amazing or crazy little bike. Now this bike comes in at about £4,000 on the road. There's a little bit extra for the sport colour scheme if you wanted that one, but £4,000 for a little run around, a nippy little machine to just get on and go to work. How amazing. Now this one's only got 34 brake horsepower, and some of you that ride bigger bikes will think, only 34 brake horsepower. But this bike is suitable for everybody to ride, but it's also suitable for people that have done the A2 license. So without having to restrict it and do all of that funky stuff to be able to ride it, I think the price point is just right. Now I've ridden this bike for literally a couple of miles, and I'm really surprised at how comfortable it is. Now I would have thought that me riding a tiny little bike, I probably look like some massive great big burper sat on a tricycle, but I'm used to a big meaty bike. I'm used to sitting on a big meaty bike. And this is quite something different, to be fair. The overall visibility is absolutely incredible, as you would imagine, because there is nothing in front of you whatsoever. I'm sure looking on the camera, all you'll see is the car in front. It's like I'm riding nothing. The wing mirrors are good. The switch gear, although very basic, as you would imagine on a £4,000 bike, very basic, but the switch gear is really pronounced. And in some ways, especially with the indicator switch, when you're pressing it, you get quite a loud click if the engine wasn't on. You do know that you have pressed that button, so that's quite good. I do find the seating position quite comfortable. The seat holds you in the right place, and the pegs are in the right place. I don't feel crunched up or anything uncomfortable. I feel quite comfortable, really. And at really slow speed, the maneuverability of this bike is exceptional. And I guess that's down to the fact that it weighs practically nothing. I mean, this is less than half the weight of my GS Adventure. So of course it's going to be really maneuverable, but it just feels really comfy. And I'm really surprised that a bike that doesn't sound that great in comparison to bikes with Akrapovic and Arrow cans and all the different cans you can have on it, or even the stock can, because this is only a single cylinder. So you've got that, I guess, characteristic sound of a single cylinder engine, the sound of a bike that perhaps isn't as powerful as many bikes on the road. It's a nippy little machine. You haven't got all of the lovely little extras that you get on many of the other bikes, but then this is a little hack, a bike suitable for a lot of younger riders that are just passing their test. And you know, riding this bike, I'm almost quite jealous, really, because I'm coming up to 40 this year, the big 40. Apparently life restarts. But when I was younger and had motorbikes, you had a choice of step-through mopeds, underpowered bikes that really didn't look that great. Now some people might like them, but you know, the youngsters of today can have a bike that actually looks much bigger than it actually is for relatively no money. You know, £4,000 for this little bike. Now you could describe it as a German-made to an Indian-type specification for a nippy run-around bike, something that can be used for anything. And certainly in this seat, it's so comfortable, I could see myself riding for a few hours on it, to be honest. So those ride-outs that perhaps the younger riders might take on it, or an owner of this bike, I think would be quite pleasantly surprised at how comfortable it is. There's a lovely dash display on the bike, an LCD display. It's not coloured at the moment, but who knows, there may be offerings from BMW in the future to bring a coloured screen in. But it's got everything that you would want. Really nice clear font, you know what gear you're in, what speed you're doing, how much fuel you've got, all the information that you need ready at hand from the off all the way through. This is a no frills, does everything bike, I think. And I say no frills, but actually it's quite thrilling. It's quite thrilling to ride this bike. I actually think that it's quite a smart little bike to ride. It's got all of the information on there. If I can get it on the camera for you, all of the information that you need, all to hand. Really, really good. The switch gear is really pronounced. I'm not sure whether you can hear that click, but you get a pronounced click when you press it. And they've got a massive horn button, and on the other side a massive button to start it. But the switches are really quality made. They don't wiggle about. I mean, that one wiggles about a little bit, but that's got quite a lot of movement on it. But really, really pronounced buttons. I like the fact that they've added little bits of detail with the BMW badge there, you know, and made it look nice. They've got kind of a chrome finish there, made everything look a little bit more special than it perhaps is. So the styling of this bike, I think, is quite exceptional. For such a small, for such a cheap bike that will appeal to so many different people, it actually looks quite special. And on the front, they haven't really skimped on stuff. So they've got a full-size mudguard, and they've even thought to include the bit here to protect the forks. It's a Euro 4 compliant bike, which is great, and dictated by these handy little reflectors, a massive radiator, but they've also got some sort of guard on here as well, so I wouldn't see any need of putting anything else on. And see that engine, how small is that engine? A little baby one-cylinder engine, given about 300cc, so you know, not exceptionally powerful, but what a great little unit. The lights, I think, look quite evil. They're on the standard with a whole host of things like Kawasaki's, KTM's, that evil look, and it doesn't give me the impression that this bike is a 300cc. If it wasn't for the 300 written on it, and people not really knowing much about the engines, if they were to see it, perhaps you might think it was a 600. Now, they've put some really nice paintwork on here, and going to looking at the seat is a one-piece seat, but it's really comfy. This bit on the seat here, it really makes you sit in the right place and feel really comfortable. They've added what looks to be rubber, but it's not, it's plastic, a rubber bit right across the top here, and it just makes it look a little bit more special. Now on the frame, they've got what looks to be a protector, but it's actually part of the frame that comes to the back, and it matches the engine. Looking at the finish of the engine, the paintwork on the engine, it doesn't look as though they've skimped and saved. It doesn't look like a cheap bike. It looks like a really well made bike for a really, really good price. You can even see the springs. And I know that you can see the springs on most bikes, but rather than it being a boring colour, they've actually put it as white, which is brilliant. It's got a great can on it. Now this can looks bigger than it actually is. And obviously you can see that it's a tiny engine in there because there's a tiny hole at the back. They've even painted the brake calipers. Now these are Vibri, I think it says. Vibri, which are part of the Brembo family, so that's really good. Now, Mark and I, when we do our reviews, we very often say about the mudguard being so small. Now, there is a massive amount of space here, but that mudguard's quite far up, and with the number plate being on the back, I doubt whether you're going to get a huge amount of spray of dirt all over you, which is great. Now, I guess from the back, to keep the price down, they've got bulbs in there rather than being LED lights, but the rear light is an LED light, so it's up there with the technology of today. And we've got a chain, and that comes with all of the maintenance that you would expect with a chain, but You know, what more do you want from a tiny little bike? An awesome little machine. I didn't think that being an adventure bike rider or a rider of a bike with more power and more cc, that I'd actually be so impressed by this bike. The gearbox is really smooth on this little machine. I'm not fishing around for the pegs, not fishing around for the brake, the foot brake or the gear selector. It's not too bouncy, it's just right. God, you can whiz in and around streets in this. It almost makes me want to be young again and just starting out with my bike riding or my bike career, if that's ever an expression. Just to be able to ride something this special for such a small amount of money. And I guess if it's aimed for the younger rider, specifically because it's A2, you can ride it on an A2 license, £4,000 is still quite a lot of money for people to find. But in comparison to a brand new GS Adventure at £16,000 or a brand new RT, that sort of bike, I mean, you're looking a lot of money. But to be able to get a really well made, German made BMW bike for such a relatively low price that's going to do everything that you want it to do, I think is quite exceptional value, to be honest. It seems quite nice ticking along at 30 miles an hour, just under 30 miles, and we're in 5th gear. And I know that in a couple of previous videos we were saying about being in 5th or 6th gear doing 40 or 50 and the bike didn't really like to be there. And a couple of people put some comments on the video saying, well, we were obviously in the wrong gear, but our reviews are just about how we find our bikes, or how we find our reviews are just about how we find the bikes that we're offered to ride. They're not about us being really technical about things. You've probably heard on different videos that we talk about turning knobs to make the suspension a little bit better, you know. Mark and I aren't technical people, we just know what we like, and through this channel we've got the ability to be able to bring you some reviews of how just normal people find different bikes. And that's what I love about the biking community. There is a motorbike for everyone. Doesn't matter what it looks like, how fast it is, how slow it is. The fact that you've got a motorbike means that you're one of us, or we're one of you. But being so thin, you can fit almost anywhere. And to be able to filter in and out of traffic, I think will be a breeze with this little machine. But what a strange little review. There's not much to say about the bike. It's just quite a pleasure to ride. Really comfortable position to ride. Seating position, the handlebars are the right width apart, they're just comfortable. Got the confidence that the bike's been made really well because it is a BMW bike. Certainly if you're a young rider and you're learning to ride and looking for a good little bike, this has got to be it. Certainly got to be a serious contender. I think all in all, quite a spectacular little machine for not an awful lot of money, but what you do get for your money is some excitement on a bike that not only looks more than it is, but rides like it's more than it is. So a massive shout out to Greg at Ocean BMW and his team for allowing us to take this bike out and have a bit of a ride and see what we think about it and bring you a video. So thanks very much to you guys, it really is appreciated. So if you've liked the video, give it a massive thumbs up. Have you got one of these bikes? If so, let us know how you get on with it down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.